tell us about Glen. Share with us, if you will, like, who's your brother? Who's your brother-in-law?
Okay.
Go ahead, start.
I think it's been, people have said this over and over again, but we can't emphasize it strongly. You would know if you met him. He just had a heart that was just so expansive and kind, and you knew when you met him, when you looked at him. I mean, his eye contact he made with you when you talked to him never faltered. I mean, there could be something going on over here, but he always was looking at you deeply. And so he was just with every single person he met. I don't think he had it in him to be superficial, ever. Not with any relationship, even if it was at the gas station when he was pumping gas. He was just that kind of person. And I think anyone who met him would agree with that. And so I think because of that, he touched so many lives, and he went so many places, and you read in the obituary all that he did, the different kinds of work he did, the different kind of travel he did, and in each interaction he just had that effect on people, and it was beautiful, you know. And it's so sad to us that his life had to end prematurely, but he left such a legacy and such a ripple effect. It's just amazing.
Yeah, which we're finding out a lot about. We're trying to fill in the pieces of Glen's life a little bit now, because we were very close to him as brothers and sister-in-law, and on a lot of travels with him along the way. But we missed a lot too, and things that he had done by himself, people who he had met, who we've met through this, that we've never met before, who he had an effect on their lives. And it's nice to hear. It's nice to fill in the gaps about Glen. Because we knew him from one channel, but everybody else we're meeting now, and he kind of knows him from a different angle. And so it's nice to see those angles. We're going through photo albums, and so we're trying to fill the gaps in his life where we weren't with him. And it's pretty well he documented it very well, which is nice for us, too, to fill the gaps and learn even more about Glen, even though we know a lot before. But, as brothers, he was so kind, always there for my brother and I, our family, my parents, and really anybody else he came in contact with. And he kind of had also this amazing ability, like Marianne said, to look people in the eye, but have deeper relationships with a lot of people who had made a big effect on people around the world at this point. Whereas I or a lot of other people, we kind of go through life skimming the surface. Glen got in there deep under and really made some major effects on people.
Was he always interested in travel from the time, because he really went all over the place?
Yeah, I would say he was. We took a bicycle trip across the country in '91, and really that spurred a lot of interest in all three of us to travel. It had started when he was younger, probably, and he was born in Honduras, and that probably kind of sowed the seeds of that. But in 1991, we kind of backed into a bicycle trip by telling people we'd like to do it, and then all of a sudden it's mushroomed and we had to do it. So, he really, I think, probably was spurred on by that, and he really, it's probably pretty much since then he's been traveling and doing things like that.
Were your parents missionaries in Honduras?
They were, yeah.
So do you think that was kind of in your blood to go and be? Yeah.
I mean, Glen, I think it's good to set the record straight. Glen wasn't a missionary in Afghanistan, but that would have definitely started him out on that path, to traveling and serving other people, humanitarian causes. And he also had a lot to offer in those things, because he was very quick with learning languages. He was only there, about a year and a half, and he was, at least as I understand it, conversant. And Dari, during that time, became conversant in Afghanistan, the local language. And that's very difficult to do at 40 years old. Yeah. So he was gifted with that. He had a medical background and all of those things. He loved to travel. He was a great hiker, and it made him a very good fit for going to Kabul in Afghanistan.
What had he told you about life in Afghanistan when he was there, in letters or phone calls, or how did he find the country and how the work he was doing with this group?
Well, the security situation there was such that, especially when he got there, it was very difficult, and we were a little bit worried about him being in Kabul initially because the security situation seemed to be that the group he was with was keeping them pretty much in compounds when he got there in 2008 and not allowing a lot of travel in and around the city, except in very restricted ways. So that worried us quite a bit, and I think because of that, he did not write back to us a lot about that because he was just worried about things getting out of that the group was doing. And it's just best to lie low. So we are learning a lot more now about what he was doing in Kabul and Afghanistan than we knew along the way. And it's nice to fill in the gaps that way too, just to learn more about what he was doing, because we knew basically what he was doing, but not very many details.
In, I think, the statement that your family released, it's talked about the fact that you guys had conversation prior to him leaving for Afghanistan about, this is a dangerous place to go, and there's a possibility that you could lose your life. Mm-hmm. How seriously did
I think that Glenn had his eyes wide open completely. I think he knew exactly what he was getting into. He was very educated. And I think he knew that risk, and Glenn had a quiet confidence about himself and in the world and everyone around him. So he knew what he was getting into and was willing, to take that risk. But we all know that, we can walk outside and get hit by a bus, gang wars in LA. I mean, you can go on and on and on. He knew Afghanistan was a little bit notched up, but he also was willing to take that chance. But I think we also, too, had that same feeling. He had a strong conviction this is what he wanted to do, and it was scary for us. I mean, of course it was. He's our loved one. But I also think we just came to a peace. This is what he wants to do. And in our discussions with the organization, they were their security was fantastic, and they were completely tapped in. He could not have been with an organization that was more savvy and involved with the local culture than who he was with. So, we just kind of get to a point, and as you meet Jerry's family and see the service today, I think you'll see Jerry, his parents, his brother, and Glenn, there's a trust there and a confidence in the universe there that this, that these things are going to be okay, whatever turns out. So I think Glenn knew exactly where he was going, and kind of had that openness in his heart that it was going to be okay no matter what happened. And I think that gave us a sense of peace with it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the group he was with also, traveling at the end, that was very experienced, very savvy, very cagey. I'm sure they weren't going out there as in any sort of a thrill-seeking sort of way. They were just going out there to do an eye camp to a relatively safe area. It seemed at the time. Anything, like Mary Ellen said, anything can happen anywhere, but that was relatively safe.
Why Afghanistan? What was it about that part of the world that drew him there?
I'm not really quite sure, but he loved other cultures, and if you're going to go with another, go visit another culture, Afghanistan is about as different as it gets from here. And I know he had some connections earlier there also from Afghanistan. He had been there in 2004 to visit a friend there, and that started that whole thing with Afghanistan. And he had been to Nepal a lot also, and he loved that. I mean, it's obvious a much easier place to be in Nepal. And I think he just loved like the South Asia, Central Asia area, and kind of the gregariousness of the cultures there, and the openness of the cultures there, and the people there in that part of the world, I think, they're so fun to be with. The kids are beautiful, and Glenn loved kids and playing with the kids, and I think he just loved the people of that area, really.
How do you think he'd want to be remembered?
I think he's being remembered just how he would want to be, because I think the silver lining in this whole thing for us, in terms of how public it's become, which is pretty hard as a family when you want to grieve your individual family member, is that all of these amazing things he's done, all of these people he's touched, it's out there, it's everywhere, it's all over the place, and so people are learning about his humanitarian work, his kindness, his travel, his adventure, and I think it's an amazing tribute to him. All these things that are coming out, like Jerry said, things we didn't even know about, and we're kind of, when you put it all together, he packed in 40 years more than most people do in a lifetime, and could hope to.